morning. Welcome to DVI Bushcraft Survival's talk today on Polish Lavvus. We're going to start off with a little bit of a sidetrack here, and I'm going to go off script, and I want to talk about something that's been pretty heavy on everyone's minds these days, and that's the current situation with what happened with Charlie Kirk. And it's not specific to Charlie Kirk, but it's specific to how we react to it. Today's readings this morning, when I got up at 4:30 to reflect on the day, as I usually do, really hit me. One of the things that in today's readings came up was the book of Numbers. And in the book of Numbers, Moses was leading the Jews through Egypt, and they all started to reject God. And things started to fall apart as usual, right? So throughout history, as the Jews traveled through Egypt and the lands, they always somehow fell, right? They fell to the wrong side and gave up on their belief of God. So what happened? The serpents came and they all got bit, and lots of people died. And God gave him another chance by giving Moses orders to have a bronze staff in the shape of a serpent. And sidebar to that, that's today's symbol of medicine, right? So EMS, the symbol for EMS and symbol for medicine is the snake with the staff. So that's truly our medicine. And we're called to act like Christians. So I know myself and so many people that are conservative and of faith are so angry right now. I hear people, and even in my own mind, want to react to this with violence. And, in Psalm 78, and then in John, in the gospel, today's gospel, it speaks again of this, that we're called to act like Christians. And this is our test. This is our test. If we don't act like Christians, we're going to get bitten by the serpent again, and things are going to get worse. God didn't say not to defend ourselves. He said to buy swords. He told his apostles to buy swords and defend ourselves when it's appropriate. And seeking out others, killing others, is not what Jesus taught us. He taught us to love one another. And if you look at what happened yesterday, where 3 million people gathered in England in the name of God, rather than killing people, there were no riots, there were nothing burned down, because people act like Christians. And it's spreading the word of God and making more and more people act like Christians. That's how we're going to solve this. That's how we're going to solve this. So I challenge you, all of you out there that say you're a Christian, to really reflect on this and be a Christian. Act like a Christian. And defend your homes when it's needed. But don't go out and seek anybody to kill them. Thanks for listening about that. Now let's get on to Polish Lavvus. All right, so what is a Polish Lavvu? First off, it's a misconception. The Lavvu term is a misconception. That is something that's been labeled by the bushcraft community to this tarp tent or poncho tent. A Lavvu is a traditional, conical dwelling used by the Sami people of northern Scandinavia, right? So it's similar looking, but these are two halves of a Cold War poncho that the Polish army used. It's pronounced Połatka, right? There's that L with the line in it is a W, so it's Połatka. And that's a little shout out to my Polish other half, who's been teaching me how to speak correct Polish. But these are Cold War issued canvas ponchos, right? So each soldier would get a half, much like the pup tents used in the US military. And it's Cold War, so we're talking 70s, 80s issue. And they're kind of multi-purpose, right? So they're like a triangular poncho with armholes that have buttons. and they can be used either as a ground tarp, they can be used as a bivvy, or like this as a shelter. So each one of the soldiers would get a poncho, and then they would get a half set of poles and a handful of stakes, and that would be theirs to carry, and then they would buddy up with somebody to make a tent. As it sits, it's a kind of small tent, right? So you could squeak 2 people in there. It's definitely comfortable enough for 1 person. By combining the 2, you got a decent shelter. What's interesting about this, it's, you know, because it's the days of making things out of canvas duck cotton, it can be used, and it's very popular right now in Europe as a hot tent, right? Because these armholes, especially the one on the backside, we can put a stovepipe through it, and it's resistive to heat, unlike today's tarps that are made out of poly and plastic burns. Embers from a campfire on the outside, if they hit this, they just kind of just go out and roll off, and it's pretty easy to fix, right? So they're waterproof, and it's not something that you're going to backpack with, right? It's not an ultralight tent, but it's a bushcraft tent. It's a tent where you go out and you have some fun. You pull it out of your truck or your car and relive some of the old days with it, right? We like to sleep under tarps, and just, this is another way to do it. It's not the end all be all, but at one point these were a pretty cheap surplus option, right? So after the Cold War, there were a large amount of these ponchos that appeared on the surplus market, and the bushcraft community like that, right? So how can we do some pretty cool stuff at a budget? And the Polish Lavvu, or Płatka, is known for its low cost and its durability, but now, today, they're getting scarce. So the prices of these things are going up. So the average Lavvu is around 200 bucks now for a set of 2 halves, and you're lucky if you could find the poles. And you can see that there's different sizes, right? So there's a small, medium, and large, and that's designated by the number of holes on the bottom of this tarp. This is a 3-hole. A size small is a 1-hole. A size medium would be a 2-hole, and a size 3 is a 3-hole. 3-hole Lavvus are almost impossible to find right now. Going up on the upwards of over $350 for a set of those, if you can find them. But luckily, there are some people, there's one person in the UK right now that's modifying the size 1s that we can find for $100, $150, where they actually are sewing a skirt on the bottom of them, lengthening them, and then actually fabricating waterproof zippers instead of the buttons. So they leave the buttons on the outside so it looks period. But on the inner part of this, there would be a zipper, which makes it much more functional than trying to button this thing up every time you want to get in and out of it. It's great because you can open these things wide open and have a campfire on the outside as well. So you can get some air, you can air this thing out during the day, which is nice because poly tarps, throughout the night, you gain a lot of moisture. It retains the moisture. With a cotton or wax cotton, if any of you use them, you'll notice that it doesn't get so moist on the inside of the tarp throughout the night. So this is the Polish Lavvu, or Płatka, and we're going to take a look around this thing as we built it, and then we're going to get some folks out here and we're going to build some of these and play around with them. So part of this is laying this thing out with its circumference laid out, right? And it takes a little bit to get exactly where the tent pegs need to go, the stakes, and where our pole needs to go. But you basically get the footprint of this up, and then we're going to go around and we're going to stake it. It's important to stake the bottom of these 2 on the seam side. we're not going to worry about getting it just perfect until we have some tension on it with the pole. Now the poles that come with this are pretty rickety. If you can find a set that comes with a pole, they're pretty rickety aluminum poles that interlock with each other. I opt to getting rid of those and getting one of the green elephant poles that I use pretty much on all my tarp tents, which is telescopic and locks, and it's very easy on the, because it's got this nice rubber ball on the end, so it's really easy on the tent for not ripping it. All right, so we've got these tents, the stakes approximately where they need to go. And we're gonna find that hood portion of the two halves. And we make sure that they're interlocked. And at that point, we're gonna take that ball. If you have a stick, you can get a stick with a tennis ball on the end of it, works as well. Except you have to get the right size stick. And then we put our pole in, and that's it. Once you get this length correct, you could probably go up a hair more, take some stretch out of that. Once you get this length of the pole, it's probably a good idea to take some paracord and string it the length of the pole in its current extension. And then you can keep that paracord with this tent. You could actually use it to roll it all up and keep it in a nice ball or a nice roll up. And then you have a pre-measured line that you can go find a stick of the length of that paracord, and now you have the proper length stick to hold up the center pole of this tent. And just keep that with it the entire time you take it out. This has now doors, right? So here's our door that can be buttoned up, pegged tight. If we come around, we can see here on the door side and also around the back. These are those armholes that I was talking about earlier. These armholes can be opened up, and a hot stove jack can be put right here. So now your vent pipe, your chimney of your hot stove can come out right here. And some of the modifications that I've seen is where they take this and they replace it with a high temperature silicone piece that is even safer than just trying to make sure that it doesn't burn. So this is the Polish Lavvu. Goes up relatively easy. It's definitely more of a recreational tent where you can go out and have some fun, do something different, and this is what we do with bushcraft. It's not a survival mentality. This is bushcraft for fun. And I hope you go out and get yourself a Lavvu and play around with one of these things, because they're kind of cool. As always, thanks for watching. Please remember to smash that like and subscribe to us, and go visit some of our sponsors like Old Man Copper. That's what keeps us doing these videos and us in business. And we really appreciate all the follows lately and all the comments on our videos. It's making a dream come true, and we really appreciate it. So have a good one. God bless.